My God, Ben. Do you know what this means? This skitter's gonna be turned upside down, I tell you, upside down. If you get on his bad side, brother, you're done for. Now, it's only a matter of time before he finds out, and when he does, no matter where he is, get ready, gentlemen, because hell's a-coming. Hell's a-coming. Hell's a-coming. Hell's a-coming. Hell's a-coming.
Damn! You got to be a stupid motherfucker to get fired on your day off.
Alright everyone, welcome back to episode 233 of Gundamn.
Oh, I think I lost you. Chris, come in, please. Where are you? There you go. I hear you now. Go ahead and say something.
Me?
Yeah, your volume's a little low, though. I'm not sure what may have happened, but I've got you cranked up all the way. Say something now. Testing 1, 2.
How's this?
That's better. Yes, much better.
I cranked up my volume on my
Cool.
headset.
I'll level us out, and we should be good to go. Go for it, man. Let the people know why we're here.
Well, as people may have determined, I am in fact not Neo.
Indeed.
Unfortunately, he had some personal business to attend to at the last minute and could not join us, but sends his regrets. So we're gonna give it the old college try and carry on without him.
Shout outs to Neo, man. Sorry you couldn't make it tonight, but we'll sally forth, sir. That's what we'll do. And Chris is taking the reins, and I'm behind the 1 and 2s as always. I'm Sober Ryu, by the way. And for those who haven't listened to us before, Chris is the webmaster at that old school term of MAHQ.net. That's the Mecha and Anime headquarters. You never been? You need to take your ass there. That's mahq.net. Go there, add it to your favorites. It's a great resource for mecha anime in general, where there's reviews, are also information on your favorite mechas from different series. You can also join the conversation over at mechatalk.net as well. Also, you can listen to the podcast live on youtube.com/GundamnMAHQ and over on twitch.tv/FightersReady. And the shows are archived there too, so definitely check us out. But Chris, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, first, in deference to Neo and Lord King watching us from above, we will not be doing a news segment tonight. So we are going to go straight into our topic, which is the web anime series Obsolete. But before we get into that, is there any information or anything that you want to drop on us?
I know that for those who have been wondering, our next session of EX versus the Gundam Nation is going to be happening this Saturday. So for those listening and watching live, that's going to be Saturday the 13th over on our Twitch half, which is twitch.tv/FightersReady. We also stream it on the YouTube channel too, so you can run back previous episodes or watch it live here too. But if you have Maxi Boost on the PS4 or PS5, you're more than welcome to come out and join us. And we'll be glad to have you. But yeah, we'll be doing that at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Saturday, the 13th of March. And hope you guys will come out and rock it with us. You can come out and watch, join the conversation. We'd love to have you. And that's pretty much it for now.
All right, so we are going to jump straight into our main topic, which is the web ONA series Obsolete that premiered in 2019 and 2020 as a series on YouTube Premium, which is a little unusual given that like so many like web anime or whatever premiering on like Netflix and whatnot, even in Japan. So YouTube's a little odd choice, but this series was written by Gen Urobuchi, who many people know from things like Madoka Magica, Psycho Pass, and mecha series like Al Noah Zero, and the fantastic and underrated Gargantia.
Oh shit, that's right. I remember you telling me that. Wow, man, he worked on Madoka Magica too. No wonder. No, that explains the last episode so much.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
sure does.
Spoilers.
And another influence that I'm sure we'll talk about later is that one of the producers on this series was Ryosuke Takahashi
Yes,
of Horfilms fame.
definitely. It's definitely got his influence on the show for certain.
So, just to give a brief overview, it's a 12-episode series, but each episode is half length. Although it's not a kind of thing that's divided up where two of these half-length episodes equal one full episode. They're 12 individual stories that are just divided up and work out to be half length.
Mm-hmm.
So, general overview of the series takes place in like an alternate future where starting in 2014, these aliens showed up in Earth orbit and made a proposal of, hey, for every ton of limestone that you send us for a reason we will never explain to you, we'll give you one of these cool little mecha called an exoframe, and we don't care about your countries or your politics or whoever. As long as someone has the right amount of limestone, we're going to give them the exoframe, and we're just going to chill in lunar orbit. And these aliens come to be known as the peddlers.
Yeah.
So immediately, people all over Earth start scrounging up limestone to trade for these exoframes that are far beyond human technology and, from what they've studied, seem to be biomechanical and not reproducible. So, at first, some of it's used for agricultural stuff. Some people use it for guerrilla warfare. And over time, you start to see a lot of countries, of course, militarize them by bolting on enclosed cockpits, adding all sorts of human weapons, and engaging in organized combat with like regular military units. Now, some countries sign an agreement to not use them for combat, but there's plenty of other countries around the world and individual guerrilla groups and whatnot that don't adhere to that agreement or initially signed it but then later pulled out. So basically, the appearance of these exoframes, it upends the entire military-industrial complex globally and starts to give a lot of power to people in the global south and changes the entire military status quo of the world.
Absolutely.
So the way the story plays out, we jump in time from about 2015 up until the 2030s, and a couple of episodes follow like one group of U.S. Marines and one group of guerrilla fighters. And there's no overarching story per se, but there are definitely overarching themes about these countries starting to use these exoframes militarily, about a made-up country in Africa spreading these around the world and trying to upend the established political and military order. So these themes are present in each episode, but there's no clear beginning, middle, end story involving all of these characters. It's just kind of a window into this world where this is the situation. So what did you think about that approach, first of all, before we get into episodes that we liked?
I was a little thrown off by it at first, getting these little vignettes. I thought the way the show was going to break down watching it from the beginning is that we got a little taste of what the main plot was in the first episode, and then we got introduced to the individual characters. in the following episodes, and then we get thrown over to a conflict over in Africa. What's the name of the kingdom? It's Azania, and Azania, and with their child soldiers, and it's like, man, I wonder if this Jamal kid is going to end up being the black dude. Nope. Not at all. But Jamal's story was compelling. Him and his female friend, and that they grew up to end up being full blown soldiers for the military for the new regime was a fascinating story. Working underneath what was his name, Zahir, old Scarface, the sniper, and how he just treated them with respect. And it's like, look, he did it the right way, even though he was manipulating children into being child soldiers. That's the best case scenario of a situation like that, where he wasn't being exploitive, although he was, but at the same time he was giving them a fighting chance because he wanted them to survive. He wanted to give them a chance to be something better than what they were, and to fight for the country and have a part in its freedom. And it's a very, what's the word? It's a very it's controversial at the end of the day, because you root for these kids, but you don't want to see them be subject to this. But it's like, what else do they have? It's wild. You've never seen an anime, and if we have, I don't recall it, but an anime that focused on a situation in Africa like this. And I know that some Gundam series have temporarily taken place with their battlefields in African territories and whatnot, but not really dealt with the geopolitical situation there and whatnot. But this series did it and stayed in it for a minute, and I was impressed by that. I really was, because we got to look at a piece of the world that usually doesn't get reflected in anime at all. And this is the part of the story I love the most. But the presentation in the series I thought was a lot of fun. You didn't know exactly where it was going from episode to episode after a while. The sniper episode was another one that was definitely fantastic. But I was quite entertained with the flow of the story and the places that it went.
Yeah, well, I think part of the issue with this series that makes it stand out is that most mecha shows are never actually set in our present or near future on Earth.
Absolutely.
They're always set in some distant, spacefaring age, like Gundam. Mm-hmm. And even, Gundam shows like Double O that do ground themselves a bit in actual real world conflicts that's still hundreds of years in the future, with space elevators and, solar power and all that fancy stuff. There's very little that is set in our modern era dealing with, real countries and, real kind of political issues. And, watching it obviously gave me heavy vibes of Gasaraki and
Yes.
Flag, both of those not being any surprise because Takahashi did those series.
He sure
did. I think the Gasaraki vibes are definitely the strongest in terms of, the real world politics and whatnot. I know a lot of people were turned off by the cell shaded animation. What do you think about that aspect of the series?
It didn't bother me as much because I've seen so much anime that's doing this now, and even though it looks not as fluid as hand drawn animation, it's the technology is improving, and you have to realize when watching this that the budget must have been incredibly limited. Not only the episodes super short, but they have to do a lot more talking about the situation that they're in than showing you, because the time is limited and the budget's limited. So you get a lot of monologues, you get a lot of dialogue about the state of the world. You get people talking about political issues while in the battlefield, which I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if those conversations happen. That was probably one of the downsides of the series, but I realize why that is, and that's because there's a tight economy on time and money with the show. So they want to kind of give you as much of the state of the world as they can within 10 minutes, as they're dealing with whatever situations they're doing that are coming up on the screen. But if anything, I love this approach. And you're right, we don't get a lot of series that take place in modern day or some kind of fashion of modern day that you can kind of relate to, and it seems very familiar that they're pulling from a lot of stories that are in the news today. So it was fantastic to see. This is a type of anime series you don't normally get to see a full 26 episode run of because of the subject matter, and that's a shame. I think I can only imagine what the series would be with a lot more money behind it.
One thing that kind of surprised me, because the series had the first 6 episodes come out in 2019, and then the second set was delayed because of COVID. But watching that first set of 6 episodes, I really thought that it was kind of like building up to bring us back to where it started in 2023 with Bowman's Marine Corps team. And I kind of thought that the continuation initially would focus more on them, because so many of them popped up in different episodes of that first half.
Yeah.
Did you have that same kind of expectation?
I did. I thought that we are going to get to see kind of the ongoing story as to what they dealt with in episode 1, because the way the time jumps were, the first episode is, I think, 2024 or 2023, and then they take you all the way back to when the Exos came down and the aliens, the peddlers were exchanging, the Exos for the limestone, and we kind of get the buildup of the story. And I thought it would bring us back to present that the first episode brought us to, and then we get to see the progression. I want to know why this African Azanian force is having operations in South America. That's what I want to know. I want to know why they're there, what they're doing. Are they making a move on other continents, other countries, in order to kind of establish a regime in that part of the world? To find out that America is on the downward slide because of the fact that they refuse to accept and use the mecha technology that the other third world countries started to accept and use, and it kind of shift the balance because of that. It's one of the more fascinating aspects of this series, is kind of the effect on the world and how things are changing with the, what do they call it, the St. Gallen Treaty, I think is what they called it, and how all the first world countries wanted nothing to do with these suits because they knew it would take away the advantage that they had with their militaries, and the rest of the world got wise and said, "Fuck you."
Well, that's kind of the most interesting thing about it, because these exoframes, because they're cheap, of just a ton of limestone, and limestone is everywhere. It becomes suddenly this great equalizer for the global South that has never existed against all of these empires and colonizers, because how could they have ever caught up when their nations have been plundered and looted by these Western powers?
Yeah.
And then these aliens show up and they're like, here, have these robots. And, you see initially at that episode with Bowman that they're just sacrificing these exoframes, or just using them to carry like Sturmfausts and, just like cheap weapons. And, they're not even trying to, these guerrilla forces aren't even trying to like really preserve them. It's just, we need them for this one operation, and they're disposable. We could always just get more later. And America's military is not built up to work that way, of just disposing of expensive things that cost a lot of money to build and just tossing them aside so easily.
Yeah, and the fact that the Marines have to run these operations on the low. They don't even have like official sanction operations with these suits. They're kind of like Bowman's group is kind of like a police force in a sense that deal with like situations, but they're probably going to get overwhelmed inevitably if America and the other nations don't step up their efforts, and it looks like they'll eventually have to, given the moves that Azania is making. So and also the conflict in India and Pakistan. I guess they're having a little bit of a civil war.
Well, they're always going at it over Kashmir or something. So
they are, yeah. So I guess
that's an interesting connection to real world events of like, oh, Pakistan started militarizing this, so we in India have to do the same to maintain that balance of power with them.
Exactly. Yo, speaking of real world events, you saw that Trump wall? The shade, the fucking shade, and they didn't even finish this wall. It was like, oh.
We'll get back to that in a minute, but
way to go.
Out of these 12 episodes, were there any in particular that really jumped out at you that you really enjoyed?
The arc in Azania I thought was probably my favorite part. I aside from that, the Karun, I'm not
Car-
Kuncho. Say,
Carhuicho.
there you go, man. I knew you'd come through on that one, but I like the perspective of that episode because you get to see this squad get picked off, and it's by none other than Zahir. Yeah, man. And I had a feeling it was him, but it's like I had to know why they were over in Peru of all places. You know, it's freaking on the other hemisphere of the world. So it's like, man, what are you guys doing? What's happening here? But and Jamal was like calling them up on the radio to let them know that everybody got picked off and they were able to complete their mission. And just to see the absolute fear of those guys, man, it's compelling. But that's probably my favorite part. I hated though how Fernando got introduced. I thought he would get like his own episode, and he's just a jobber. Like the way I equate these guys is like Bowman is Egon, Rei Miyajima is actually Ray, Loner is Venkman, and then Fernando is straight up Winston. he's the last in to join, and he just happened to get pulled into this group, and apparently he's an anime fan too. We'll get to that, but I hated how he was introduced, and I was hoping to get kind of more of an inside story on him. But the other episode I liked a lot was I believe it was Bowman's, not Bowman, Loner's episode where he was part of a PMC. And that one guy in the PMC was telling him, don't get too attached to these people because there's no good to come of it. And then he talks to that one lady who's part of the people at the refinery plant. And, he took a shine to her. And then when the raid happened and they had to end up and leave because their contract got terminated, the crew could give a fuck about these people. It's like, well, we got to go, man. The contract's terminated. They're not paying us. We got to leave. Don't even shoot another bullet. We got to leave. And Loner was pissed. It's like, what about the people? We gotta help them. It's like, they're not paying us. Well, they gotta help themselves. We're out. And he kind of got a taste of how being in the PMC really is, and that the lives are cheap, especially when people don't pay. So I'm glad to see he eventually ended up in a better unit. But that was a great introduction to his character, I'd like to say. So good episode.
I liked a lot Carhuincho and seeing, these guys like slowly start to go mad as each of them gets picked off, and like one particular like just going nuts about this like legend of what it means, and then like getting out of his exo frame and getting sniped, and
Ooh.
It's like it does an effective job of telling this suspense story in just the 10 minutes that it works in.
Yeah.
So that was neat. I did like the one a lot, Santa Muerte.
Yeah.
That is set in the Mexican border, and this concept of a coyote making these migrants act as sort of like mechanized drug mules. And, marching through the desert in these exo frames, carrying all these drugs, and then being attacked by drones and then racist white people.
Yeah, the militias, they call themselves.
Yeah. I did like, though, it's kind of like, you said not, a knock on Trump, but also a comment at the same time on the state of the world in 2025, that when they finally reach the border and the young woman's like, yay, it's America. And you see this like dark area, this incomplete fence, overgrown landscape, like it's unfinished. And the coyote's like, yeah, is the dream so bright when they didn't even finish this fence over this wall over here?
Yeah,
that's
man.
kind of like showing you on the home front, like, yeah, America's not so hot anymore because of this whole upending of the military-industrial complex by the arrival of the exo frames now a decade earlier.
Yeah,
and
scathing commentary, boy.
Yeah, like you see her. Yeah, she abandons the exo frame, and you see Tucson in the distance with all these lights. But then the question's left in your head of how prosperous really is America? How much better off is it than any other place?
Yeah.
Has she gone through all of this hell for nothing?
I just want to tell her to keep on going until you get to Canada.
maybe so.
Man. America's one big flyover state now. Damn.
Now, one that I want to mention, just because it's so fucking out there, is
Oh,
the
yeah.
last episode,
Woo!
Kokonoha Konoka,
No doubt.
which, starts off with these schoolgirls in space, in open air, controlling these heavily modified exoframes that go to like total Code Geass level with like the sabers and the cannons and wings of light and just crazy like Code Geass or Gundam level, and these flashbacks of, oh, but I thought we were friends in school, and it's like absolutely bonkers. And then at the very end you find out it's a damn anime being watched by Bowman's team.
No doubt. Yeah. It's so dumb. And I had a feeling that's how it would end too. Because when you see the year come up and it's 2444, I was like, this is way too much of a jump. These people don't look the same. This is ridiculous. This is why am I getting all of a sudden a Mecha Musume anime waifu beam struggles?
Like literally everything changes. What am I watching?
Yeah, it's like I was praying it was the crew watching the anime, and I was so relieved. I was so relieved at the end. It's like, oh, thank God, because I almost checked out. I was like, what is this? I was like, this. I don't know. But when you told me that of the animes that Gen Urobuchi worked on, it's like, oh, that makes all the sense in the world. That he would stick this in. But that's the last episode, though. Man, I guess he wanted to end it with an exclamation mark. But it was fun. It was definitely off the beaten path. That's for sure.
It kind of reminded me a bit of like the end of 8th MS Team. Like, oh, let's just do this totally different, weird thing that has nothing to do with what you've been watching up to this point.
Man. Yeah, I guess they wanted to end on a kind of different tone, if anything. Just to throw people off. I don't know if they were just having fun with the audience, but it was cool. I can't be too mad at it in retrospect. But I was expecting more of an escalation of the story to get back to the main crew, since the intro of the show kind of spotlights the 4 dudes. I was kind of hoping for some more Tom Clancy shit, but
Yeah, I think we all wanted to see some kind of decisive confrontation between the Marine Corps and the Outcast Brigade.
Yeah, I want to see some young grizzled Marines, son. That's what I wanted. But I guess we'll have to wait for the Phantom 3rd season, which we'll never get.
Was there any episodes you didn't like?
Let me think. I mean, I enjoyed it as a whole because the show's so short that it's not. It doesn't take up much of your time, and each episode is kind of like a window into the world and how it is. And with the time jumps, I was always engaged. For the most part, if there's an episode I liked the least, was probably the episode that that Fernandez was introduced. My second worst episode, and I say that lightly, is Freya, because it's so different, and it's probably the furthest one in the real timeline. It takes place in like 2030. It's an interesting story because you have this guy basically talking to his phantom wife the whole time, and it's a sad story, but it's how he's coping. And I love the fact that it's underwater. It's a different direction for for how things normally are portrayed in the show. You get to see a guy who's dealing with kind of underwater terrorists or whatever, and it's a situation where you can't even see his enemy, and they have to use sonar. You have to use sonar to their own advantage in order to be able to take out the threat that's underwater with the guy. And it's an interesting episode. It probably stands out as the most unique out of all of them, outside of the last episode of the show. But if anything, I'd love to see another story with this guy. But it was very interesting. But at the same time, I like the other episodes better. So
yeah, it's definitely different, and we don't get any kind of conclusion to what this conflict is that's set up of what Azani is doing and the Outcast Brigade and all these countries kind of moving forward their programs. But it's still an interesting watch overall, and it's not a huge time sink either. It totals up to just 6 regular OVA episodes.
Yeah.
What did you think of the little promotional Votoms Op remake?
I didn't see it, but I see Yazi actually shared it with us on Twitter, so I will definitely check that out. But I didn't even realize there was a Votoms link to it. I'd show it on stream, but last time I did something like that, we got copyright slapped, so I will have to refrain from that. We ain't touching that. But Yazi, thank you for hitting me with that tweet. I am going to check that out. I didn't know they did a crossover with Votoms, man. I'm mad I didn't see it. So
it was just a promotional thing at the start of the second half coming out, and it's the Votoms Op remade in the cell shaded style of Obsolete.
Really?
With Bowman standing in for Chirico.
No.
And his exoframe painted like a scope dog, and it's still the same song, Flames of Destiny, from Votoms. And like the backgrounds are still like the world of Votoms, but just with exoframes, and it's hilarious.
Man, that's amazing.
And it's nicely done. It's like, you know what? I could go for this too.
I'd love to see it, man. And just the fact that they have such reverence for Votoms, and this is kind of like to me, this could be the granddaddy series of Votoms. Who knows? I don't know. I doubt that they're connected, but it would be cool if they said, oh, this is retroactively the prequel to Votoms, where all this shit started up on Earth, and then everybody expanded out. It's like, wow, that's super interesting. And to be honest with you, man, I would love for them to revisit this world, to give us a proper, at least a 13-episode series, dude. I would love that shit, because I like this concept. It took me a while to finally get to the show, because I heard a little bit about it, but then YouTube started to suggest it to me, and I watched the episode Reshep. I watched that episode on its own, just to see what it was like, and it's like, this is super interesting. I have to go back and watch the rest. And then you brought it up to us to review, for us to review on the show, and I was excited. It's like, yeah, I can't wait to dive into the show, because it looks like it's for a guy like me and for my tastes for mecha, and I wasn't disappointed at all. I found this to be a thrill to watch, as little of it as it is. I guess my major complaint, it has to do, and that's probably my biggest issue with episode 8, Area 51, where they're just testing out their suits, the Marine team, is that there's so much dialogue that just explains what's going on, and it basically is training exercises and introducing Fernando, which I wish they'd done it a different way. But other than that, again, I know that's a product of the length of the episodes and what they could afford to do, so I won't hold it too hard against the show for that.
Yeah, I would love to see more of this world and this show, but we know that's probably not going to happen, because there's really just not a market for these kind of like hyper realistic, grounded mecha shows, because mecha as a franchise, now in the 2020s, it's not what it used to be.
No.
It's pretty much limited to your big players, your Gundams, your Code Geasses, your Macrosses, and there's just really not an audience for this. Like, this is definitely like old school otaku stuff. Like, I could see a series like this having popped up during the height of the bubble economy in the 80s, with like mega detailed cell animation, and like this kind of stuff is sort of out of its era.
Yeah. Although with streaming services, this type of stuff is possible, because you're not trying to gain advertisers for it, but it just depends on who wants to spend the money on producing something like this. They can either produce something that the public really wants to watch and is going to consume easily, or they're going to produce something that's unique and may not be appreciated by a bunch of people, but it's great art and great storytelling and whatnot. They're probably going to go for the more populist effort. So it's an unfortunate situation, but I do applaud shows like this. I do applaud animes like this that take an unconventional route and kind of takes real world events and tries to spit it into a science fiction fantasy / storyline is compelling to take in, and it's rare, but when moments like this come along, I really do enjoy it. So kudos to the whole team, man. I really, this was a thrill.
Yeah, but yeah, there definitely are possibilities now because of streaming and moving away, say, from the traditional broadcast model. But look where this ended up on YouTube Premium, where the one freaking show they were known for, Cobra Kai, isn't even theirs anymore.
Nope. That fell apart fast.
And Google abandoned YouTube originals the way that they always abandon everything. And, the way that they're doing now with Stadia. So, YouTube Premium, it's like, oh yeah, that's definitely the place where I go to for my hot mecha anime.
I'm glad they tried, but yeah, Google does seem to give up too quickly on a good concept or to try this out. I guess they didn't have people flock to their platform like YouTube TV or whatever, but I don't want to see people become dispassionate about doing projects like this. I really would hope that they would continue, but I'm not. At this point in time, I got to be realistic too. So I'll take them when we get them, and we'll go from there.
But given his involvement with this series, I know that Takahashi's getting on in age, but yeah. I would love to see if he's got like one more solid old school mecha series left in him to do. Maybe not. Maybe he's too old. Maybe he doesn't want to do it. Maybe the market has changed too much for that. But I would love to see him kind of come back and put like a little swan song there for his very long and accomplished career.
I guess when you look at it, like a lot of people who were who were champions of like expanding the genres of the series that they worked on, like Takahashi or Tomino. I guess when they get to a certain age, they either tire of doing it, or maybe they're fresh out of ideas or whatnot. I look at cats like Norman Lear. You don't see Norman Lear doing a lot, but yeah, he still is producing TV shows, and he's like almost 100 years old. So Takahashi may still have another epic in him. I wonder if it's because the business has changed so much that a lot of the new producers or whatnot are not wanting to take a chance on something like this. But I still think Takahashi's got other stories to tell, and I'd love to see more from him. I
would have loved to have seen him back in the day direct a Gundam series, and unfortunately, the most involvement he ever had with Gundam was writing a little bit on 0083.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
There probably is something to be said about like knowing when to bow out, because for the longest time we all thought that Turn A Gundam would be Tomino's kind of final word on Gundam, even though he did do the Zeta movies afterward. But then he had to come back and do G-Reco, and it's like, oh, that's going to be your final word on Gundam, huh? G-Reco and not Turn A, the really, really great series that now people acknowledge as a classic and that is great in so many ways. It's gonna be G-Reco, huh? World is not a square. Kuntalas, okay, all right.
Yeah,
how we're doing it, huh?
It just seems like, God, I just wish that show wasn't as half baked as it was. It really was his chance to put on a great story. We've already talked it to death. I'm so sorry. Let me not get back into that.
We can complain more about that when we talk more about the G-Reco movies. But anyway, I would say in closing, check out Obsolete. It's 12 short episodes. If you really dug things like Gasaraki, Flag, maybe the Kuman arc of Votomes, the earlier parts of 8th MS, like this series will definitely, I think, scratch that itch.
Yes, it will. Great way to phrase it. Yeah, what would you rate it, man?
I think I'd give it 3.5 child soldiers out of 5.
Oh, you stole mine! God damn it! I would give this 4 out of 5 bottles of drinkable gel, which was gross. Oh, you could drink it. It's like, no, I'm good.
Like, just because you can doesn't mean that you should.
Should. I was like, you don't know what the long-term effects of that shit is. What are you doing, lady? That lady was a trip. But
I mean, that could be like alien jizz for all you know.
yeah, another fascinating thing about the show is the actual mecha themselves, man. The exo units are inside have organic material, and I guess they're technically life forms. They're almost like horses, right? But you also have a psychic connection to them. One of the coolest things in this series that they showed was when Jamal was able to control his suit from outside of it. Like, he was having that thing snipe and shoot, and he wasn't even inside the suit. That was some cool shit. He was so advanced as a pilot, and I guess you can get that advanced the more you become connected to them, to use them like that. And so he was almost like using it like a stand or whatever. I thought that was incredible. The show drops little hints of the world in each episode that if you may not notice unless you're really watching, and that was one of the coolest things about it. I thought he was probably one of the best characters in the series, I hear. So that was cool.
Yeah, he was cool. He definitely joins the ranks of many accomplished mecha snipers.
Hell yeah, man, the grizzled ones, man. Yeah, but yeah, he fucking put the fear of God in me. That's for sure. But yeah, man,
So,
good show.
With Obsolete wrapped up, before we close out the episode, is there anything that you want to say or drop some links on people?
Yeah, everybody, again, if you guys don't know, we do this stream at least once a month, usually twice. So you guys can come out here. If you haven't hit the follow button here on YouTube or on Twitch, please do. It helps us out a great deal. And also, Fighters Ready, if you are on Twitch and you watch on Twitch often, you want to help support that by becoming a subscriber using your Twitch Prime account to subscribe to us, please do. Again, that does help out the channel, and we can replace equipment and whatnot as well. So it's very appreciated. But check us out. We're also on Facebook at MAHQ1, the group. You can apply to become a member, and if you're not a douche, you'll get in. You find the audio.
You'll stay in.
Yeah, exactly, right? Just adhere to the rules. That's all we ask. Gundamn.podbean.com is where you can find the audio podcast. I will be updating the audio feed this weekend. So I'll be getting finally. So I've got it all lined up and ready to go. So you're going to get a slew of episodes. For those audio listeners that or have not been watching on YouTube, you're about to get hit hard. So I can't wait for you guys to be able to listen to the episodes finally. So we got you. But yeah, that's what's up. Find us on iTunes and Google Podcasts. And thank you very much for listening and supporting the show.
Well, thank you, Sobro, for getting those audio episodes done. I'm sure the listeners will appreciate getting that incoming flood.
Indeed.
And plenty of content to listen to. So we are done for tonight, but we will be back next time with Neo in tow, and maybe he can give us a little brief recap of his thoughts on Obsolete.
Yes.
So that we can get that on the record. But for now, everyone, thank you for tuning in or listening to this eventually on audio. Stay safe and have a good evening.
So it's been a lot of fun, but, well, I guess that's all.
さすがは私専用のコックピットシートだ。見事に私を支えてくれる。
大佐 敵がそこまで。急いで。
分かっている。1.2 リッター直噴ターボとはな。
大佐オイスが私の心に触った感じなんです。
さらにできるようになったな。オリスジオニックトヨタ。
I'll show you what you get when you go mano-a-mano with the Grey Ghost. What? Using a tractor beam on an old man, eh?
Silence, old man.
It's okay, Les. I think we're out of range.
Was that too much?
No. You were great. Thanks for the rescue, man.
Don't mention it.
Who's next on the beating list?
Earthling Mary Hart.
Finally, some entertainment tonight.